All right, good evening, everyone, and want to welcome you again to the Caldwell County Board of Commissioners meeting for this February 8th of 2021, and we'll call that meeting to order. We've already had our public comment period, so I'd like to say welcome to those who are now joining us by TV, and again, welcome to those who are in our audience here this evening. Our first item of business is our invocation, and we'll have the Reverend Robert Livingston, the interim pastor at Fellowship Baptist Church. Preacher, if you'd come to the podium, please, and then we'll do our Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation, and Commissioner Robbie Wilkie will lead us in that this evening.
Let's pray together. Father in heaven, you are a great God and greatly to be praised. I thank you for the privilege to know you and to call you my Father. I thank you for the freedom and the faith to know that you're near and that you hear and answer our prayers. I thank you for this assembly of county and local leaders and for the gift of their time and efforts to provide leadership for our community. Remind us, O Lord, that leadership is best accomplished through servanthood, and that servanthood is often expressed through personal sacrifice. Give wisdom to our so that they may understand complex issues, and give them courage that they may employ effective solutions even when the cost is high. Help us to stand apart from personal ambition and party politics so that we may represent all the people and work for the common good. Remind us that in good times and in difficult times, we always accomplish more by working together. We continue to pray for physical and emotional healing in our land. We thank you for answered prayer, for the vaccines against COVID-19, for the exhaustive efforts of our healthcare workers, emergency and law enforcement personnel, and all essential workers. We ask that you continue to bless our community, our county, our state, and our nation. And may our efforts bring help to those who are in need and honor to your name. We make our prayer in the name of the one that is above every name, our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Pastor, for coming. And we appreciate that prayer. And I appreciate, again, everybody being here this evening. So with that, I'll ask our clerk, Mr. Welch, if there's any amendments to our agenda this evening.
Mr. Chairman, there's two proposed amendments this evening. Item 7A, item for decision, would be moved, and it would become item 8J under the consent agenda, and then the addition of item 8K under the consent agenda to fund repairs, a budget revision to fund repairs at animal control that have been necessitated by a recent inspection.
All right, hearing the request as the agenda has been presented, what's the pleasure of the board in adopting our agenda this evening?
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept this evening's agenda as the county clerk has presented.
All right, any other discussion or comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. And our first item is public hearings, and so the first one of those is a rezoning, the Broadway group, and so Shelley Stevens, our planning director, is going to come up, and then I've got about 4 folks that have signed up to speak to this amendment to our, to this hearing of the Broadway group. So, Ms. Stevens, you lay it out for us to begin with.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for hearing this request tonight. I'm just going to give an overview, and this is the, well, they're pulling it up there, and you'll see the slides. Oh. Let's see. Okay. So thank you for pulling up that PowerPoint for us. This is actually the fourth rezoning request of 2020, and the applicant is the Broadway Group, and this is like the second part of the hearing that we started in 2020. And the request is for residential agricultural zoning to be changed to neighborhood business. And they are requesting a rezoning of only 2.33 acres of a 5-acre lot, and that's at 1053 Dudley Shoals Road, which is north of Good Hope Lane and south of Grace Chapel Road. And the property is currently owned by HGB Properties, but if it were to be rezoned tonight and the special use permit approved that they are seeking, then the applicant, the Broadway Group, would own the property after that. They would purchase the property. And the site conditions are it's a field, and it does not have anything on it currently. It is within the watershed protected area of our county, which just means that 36% or less of the parcel is allowed to be covered with impervious surface, and there's no floodplain to worry about permitting for the site. Again, they are requesting neighborhood business zoning from residential agricultural zoning, and there's residential agricultural zoning to the north, south, east, and west of this parcel. And this is the future land use map from our comprehensive plan that you're very familiar with. But for those who are not familiar with it, it's based on public input, and by state law, it must be used in rezoning decisions. And what we do is we look to see if the request aligns with what the future land use map and comprehensive plan state for future rezonings and land uses in the county. And if you can see in the southeastern corner of the county there, or quadrant, there is a node that is a countryside node, so it's green if you see the key there, and I believe it has a number 8 on it, and that is where this site is located, 1053 Dudley Shoals Road. And in our comprehensive plan, a countryside node is defined and discussed thoroughly throughout the plan, and the node does suggest rezonings to neighborhood business, residential agricultural, low-density residential, multifamily, are all appropriate for this area and are recommended. And I and the planning board not only looked at the comprehensive plan with this map amendment request, we look at the zoning ordinance, the watershed ordinance, the flood damage prevention ordinance, as well as public health, safety, and welfare. And so you can see what it looks like. And then the area they would subdivide out if this is approved is shown there as well, the 2.33 acres of the 5. And that's what it looks like with aerial footage. And the planning board's recommendation is approval. They did provide this consistency statement and recommend a motion to approve the rezoning. However, if you choose to deny the rezoning, there is a draft example of a denial consistency statement in your packets that you may use. And I do believe the applicant also would like to present.
Yes, you come ahead, give us your name and.
Hi there. My name is Rebecca Hill, and I work for the Broadway Group for the applicant. Ms. Stevens has covered quite a bit of what we wanted to share with the board this evening. I did want to point out, if it's possible, to go back to the slide that had the map with the comprehensive plan aerial. Up one. No, up two. That one. Yes. I wanted to point out this map mainly because that map, I feel like, encompasses the entire model of what our development was built on. We are a small retail store, and the area in which we would like to go is our ideal scenario. It's an area where you see it's zoned residential agricultural around us. It's a small town. That's where we thrive and where we offer services to communities, where we become part of the community through different grants and donations and things. So when we are actually looking for areas to develop our stores, that is the ideal location, and that's one of the reasons that we chose this, because we like to think of ourselves as America's General Store. and just being a good neighbor. So I just wanted to maybe give a little background of why we selected this particular area in general. I'm available if you have any questions, and also the current owner of the property is here with us to share some thoughts with you if you would like to hear from her as well.
Okay, is she one of these that's listed, Stacy Pierce or Michael Kirby or Roger Mcguire?
Yes, sir, Stacy Pierce.
Okay. All right, so Ms. Hill has spoken. Ms. Pierce, if you want to come and speak, and we'll give you 5 minutes to speak to us. So,
Thank you, Chairman, Vice Chairman, and
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioners. I appreciate y'all's time. Please know I am respectfully asking that you consider this. This land has been in my family for many years. It was previously owned by my parents, Nan and Jean Bumgarner. I inherited this property when I lost my mother in 2018. And in that time, because it is right on Dudley Shaw's Road, a commercial, basically a two-lane that would be a commercial thoroughfare eventually, I've been approached by many people, and I've declined many because I just did not feel it was a good benefit to the community. I'm still a landowner. I have family, I have friends, and I spend a lot of time here, though I do not reside here primarily anymore. And when DG, Dollar General, approached me, the Broadway group, I did my due diligence. They're a very good business. They're very community-oriented. They provide, in my community I know, and they do in their others, they provide scholarships to worthwhile students, which, as a South Caldwell Spartan alumni, I think that would be a great benefit. They also provide discounts and benefits to our many critical workers right now, that the nurses, the EMT, the firemen, they give them discounts, they give them special hours to shop, as well as our seniors, which is a very tender community right now, that they are suffering from this pandemic so profusely. They give them private shopping hours. And I think that's a great honor to our elderly that they deserve. And I do respect that a few of the neighbors have concerns regarding this. The fact that I have 5 acres I'm willing to sell, but they're only developing less than half of that. And of that less than half of that, it's going to be nicely landscaped. It's going to be, and I do believe it's going to be added value to the community. It's going to be good for the people overall. And respectfully, I hope that you will listen to concerns of neighbors, but the concerns of a few, I pray in America, should not override the greater good that would benefit our community. And I would hope you would listen to my concerns as a homeowner and understand and respect my right as a property owner to freely use and sell my property. I do not want to sell this property to be developed into multifamily where you've got 4 and 5 houses on an acre. I do not feel that's density, and that would be appropriate use for this land. I do not feel, I've been approached for a trailer park. I do not think that would be a good use for this land. They have been the most honest, forthright, and Christian people I've dealt with. So I hope you will have ears to hear and understand, and please approve this zoning request. Thank you so much for your time. Any questions?
no, ma'am.
Thank you.
We thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Next to speak to this is Michael Kirby. And we'll give you 5 minutes, sir.
I was getting ready to ask, did I have 5 minutes?
Yep.
Okay. My name is Michael Kirby. If you don't know, I live at 3752 Good Hope Lane, which borders this property. I know we'd spoke before, but I just believe that this Dollar General, it's going to be a Dollar General. I'm not going to mince words. It's going to be put in the middle of a, as farmers, our neighbor raises horses. He's already bought the land beside us, and that's what he's going to do is put horses and fence it up and, keep it. And I believe it should be kept like that. I also believe that stretch of highway is inappropriate for a business, especially with the amount of traffic that comes through there. it is a 45-mile-an-hour stretch of road, but if anybody does 45 miles an hour, I'm surprised. If you even look at some of the pictures, I mean, coming from the 5 Points, there's like a little crest, you can't see over it. And I mean, when we're sitting at home, we can hear people coming down through there. I mean, it sounds like they're doing 80, 90 miles an hour. And it's also a 2 passing lanes that come down through there, and they're all the time passing down through there coming, when I'm coming home or I'm going up to get my mail or something like that. You know, I just believe there's just too much traffic right there, and especially, you know, I know they're still planning on having a roundabout because, you know, most of the property owners there in that 5 Points have already sold their property to the DOT to have it done. I think that's going to make it even worse when it comes to time to build that. I also think about the other businesses in the community. I mean, from that point, we've got a Dollar General 3 miles up the road in Granite. Not only do you have that, but you have a Fair Value, which is a local market, which is already struggling because we've got 2 Walmarts within 10 minutes of where we live at. I mean, that's detrimental for them. I mean, they've had to go in and remodel just to keep up with the Walmarts and the other Dollar General and the Family Dollar that's next door. So I just want you to take in consideration all that, and I've seen it before. I work for the city of Morganton. We upped our design standards in the planning and zoning department to kind of keep these down. Once they find out that your design standards are so high, they don't want to spend the money to build these stores in the city anymore. We've already got 4, and they're trying to. And they called me the other day wanting to put a 5th one in. I mean, once they found out what our design standards were, they withdrew the application. So that's all I have to say. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. And next is Roger Mcguire.
Hard enough time talking without this. My name is Roger Mcguire, and I'm a adjoining property owner. Chairman Church, Vice Chairman LaBrose, Commissioners Branch and Potter and Wilkie. I want to start by thanking you all for the service that you give to our county. I know it's overlooked a lot, and I don't come up here to your meetings, but I know they get a little hot and heavy sometimes. But at any rate, I'm glad to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and to talk to these folks out here as well. I did not expect to be meeting with you again quite so soon. Still don't understand why we went through this, you know, in June. But using the vernacular of Yogi Berra, it seems like deja vu all over again. And maybe put another way, same song, second verse. But at any rate, I'm not trying to be smart. I'm just, I am poking a little bit of fun at the fact that we turn this down once, and hopefully we'll turn it down again. Probably repeating a good bit of what I said last June, but you probably won't remember all that I said anyway. But our group is adamantly opposed to the rezoning and the subsequent special use request by the Broadway group. In my mind, it's really spot zoning. And having served as the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Board for the town of Granite Falls for many years, spot zoning is a little iffy sometimes, but when you stick something right there, a business with the type of land that's around it, and the highway and so forth, I think it's spot zoning, but maybe not. But at any rate, our group feels that the additional traffic that's created by a Dollar General store and its proximity to the 5 Points intersection, that's That's the big problem. It would only exacerbate the problems in what is already a high accident area. I think I can legally say this. It's common knowledge that within a mile or two, and Mike mentioned this, my son-in-law lives right on the straight stretch, about a quarter of a mile from 5 Points, and as we were driving up here, he was just telling me, and I'm over there a lot this time of year. I've got field trial bird dogs, and I've got 11 acres, and I work them a lot there, keep them in shape and play with them, and I'm hearing these motorcycles, especially motorcycles, and Steve was saying that back in the summer when he's out, he doesn't cut his own grass, but he's out in the yard some anyway. But anyway, he says that one motorcycle will go down and make sure there's no highway patrolman coming, and then first thing you know, you've got 4 or 5 just flying up and down, and I can't see them from where I'm playing with my dogs, but I can hear them. And it really is an issue. The roundabout might slow it down, but at any rate, prior to our meeting last June, I spoke with Jason Powell about the accident frequency in the 5 Points area. He said that the communications center had received 75 calls in a 1 mile radius of 5 Points in the previous 18 months. Well, that sounds a lot to me. And I doubt it that it's changed much in these few months since our last meeting, or since June. From a personal perspective, my wife and I own an 11.48 acre tract that joins the subject property on one side, and our daughter and son-in-law residential property that has a tax value of $475,000. Well, he received his revaluation just like I did, and I think it's more like $500,000 now. But at any rate, they will inherit our tract, and they felt for some time that the best use might be, and this is just an if thing, a low-density, upscale, single-family housing that would be a credit to the area and a credit to their home, which is a very fine home. But at any rate, rezoning the property would obviously be detrimental to these kinds of plans. I'll mention one other thing. I mentioned this last June, and I guess I'm a little bit of I am an old timer. I'm 84 years old, but I like to think young. But at any rate, sitting on the edge of our 11.48 acre tract that borders Good Hope Lane is a hand-hewn log tobacco barn that was probably built around the turn of the century. It's surprisingly good shape, and I feel it adds a considerable flavor to the property. And having a Dollar General on the other side of Good Hope, just looking right up the hill a little ways, would certainly not enhance that flavor. But at any rate, I feel for the people that own the land. It's just that it's sitting in the wrong place. And so anyway, thank you for your time, and thank you for all that you do for us.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so I'm going to ask Shelley to step back up, and we kind of cut her off at the pass, I guess, and if anybody had any additional questions of our planning director prior to hearing a motion on this rezoning. So did anybody have a question or anything else you wanted to explore? All right, well, hearing none, then I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to deny because the amendment is consistent with the county's comprehensive plan because a countryside node is present on the future land use map at the location of the request. It could negatively impact the surrounding neighborhood and adjacent properties, and therefore public health, safety, and welfare with potential crime or traffic issues.
All right, and hearing Commissioner Potter's motion, are there any questions or comments in reference to the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of his motion to deny, signify by raising your right hand. And looks like that's unanimous again, so we again appreciate everybody's effort and doing this and coming out, and the community coming out as well, and Ms. Stevens, as all that you've done. So
Thank you.
hopefully we've covered it this time as what we needed to clearly state in the motion. All right, is anything else we need to do there, Mr. Attorney?
I believe you covered it.
All righty.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Shelley.
So then that would dispense with item 6
B.
and move us, and item 6A, 6B is dispensed with, and we'll move to item C, which is rezoning of Barlowe property. So, Ms. Stevens.
Okay. Thank you. And if our tech people could pull up my PowerPoint for me, I would appreciate that. That's the right one. Thank you. So this is the first rezoning request of 2021, and the applicant is Richard Barlowe, who is the real estate broker for Baton Storage LLC. And he is requesting a rezoning of a parcel from residential agricultural zoning to general business zoning, and that's at 2393 Connolly Springs Road, north of Dewberry Place and south of Lee Pearson Road. He recently had a 12-acre parcel just south and abutting this parcel rezoned to general business also, and said that their plans are to combine this parcel with the one below it, although obviously the rezoning request isn't dependent upon them combining those properties for it to be a legal request. The site conditions are it's a field with a house and a shed on it currently, and they said they do plan to remove those. It is not in a floodplain area, but it is in the watershed protected area, which again just means that 36% of the parcel or less can be developed. But then again, if they're combining it with the 12 acres, that won't be as difficult. And in the general business district, there are setback requirements, 30-foot front, 10-foot side, and 25-foot rear. But again, they do plan to combine it with the 12 acres just south of this parcel, which would make that easier for them, as well as the building line length requirement they'll have for the 0.37 acres that they're hoping to rezone, as you can see on the overview slide. And the surrounding zoning is RA20 to the north, south, east, and west, along with general business to the northwest and adjacent the property to the south. Again, going to the future land use map from our comprehensive plan, which is required by state law to look at with rezoning requests. This parcel is located in the southwestern quadrant of Caldwell County. So you'll see 2 red nodes. It's just directly north of that. And there's actually some red shown on the map if you zoom in to the map in that area, which stands for commercial land uses, which means that the comprehensive plan is recommending commercial land uses for rezonings and construction in that area. And this is an aerial of the site. So you can see that 12.89 acre parcel below this 0.37 acre parcel that they plan to combine this parcel with if it's rezoned to general business. And though this isn't part of the request, they did say that it could be known that they plan to create a storage business here, which would be legal within the general business district. And again, I and the planning board did review this request with the comprehensive plan, the zoning ordinance, the watershed ordinance, the flood damage prevention ordinance, and public health, safety, and welfare of the community. And something that's not required by law necessarily, but that we always look at is DOT requirements as well. And a traffic impact analysis would not be required at this site, according to DOT, for the proposed use. And then that is the case as well for the last proposed use. The DOT does not recommend a transportation impact analysis, which means that they don't think the adjacent roads will be affected by any traffic changes here. And the consistency statement that the planning board recommends for approval is shown here, along with their recommendation to approve the map amendment. And you may always create your own consistency statement if you'd like as well, but they are recommending approval of this rezoning request.
All right, so here in the request, and just refresh my memory, Shelley, is this some of the property that Mountain Grove had owned? Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing because it was a different property owner when they requested the rezoning of the 12 acres, approximately 12 acres.
Right.
But they sold it, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. And we approved that, didn't we?
Correct.
Right. So,
Yeah.
okay. Just a continuation of what they're trying to encompass there. All right. Does anybody else have any questions or comments for Ms. Stevens? Hearing none, what's the pleasure of the board in adopting this rezoning request this evening?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the rezoning as presented to us.
Do we need to read that consistency statement, Shelley, that you
Yeah.
had printed out?
Yes, if you don't create your own, then yeah, you'll need to read that one.
Can you put that back up on the screen right there for us?
Sure can. There we go.
Because I was thinking that a while ago. Put it on this screen right here, where we can see it here in front of us.
And just to be clear, we think this is why we had a redo tonight.
There it
Because
is.
we're not stating all of this in our consistency statement that needs to be stated evidently.
Motion to approve because the amendment is consistent with the county's, I'm gonna read that up there, bud. With the county's comprehensive land plan, which contains a future land use map that jives with the request, does not negatively impact the surrounding neighborhood and adjacent properties, and promotes public health, safety, and welfare.
All right, so thank you, Commissioner Branch, for reading that consistency statement, and I'll call the question, what's the pleasure of the board in adopting the motion this evening? All signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that motion carries unanimously as well, so we're getting some clarification. Okay. Yep. So, Mr. Tuttle, would like to speak to us a minute.
You asked me if that covered everything a little earlier, and I said, I believe it did, and then I got to thinking, when Commissioner
Potter.
made his motion, I don't know that he actually identified that first part that you made as being the consistency statement. If there could maybe clarify that motion to make it clear that that was the consistency statement that's required.
All right, so in this most recent motion, are we okay with declaring this as a consistency statement that we've just read by Commissioner Branch?
Yes.
And so that one carries. So you're asking us then to go back to the original
Yeah.
Broadway rezoning?
Point of clarification as to Commissioner Potter's motion.
Correct.
So we just need to make that point of clarification in the minutes?
Do I need to amend that motion?
No, you read it verbatim, but I think what he said, just a point of clarification, you could just say that what you read out was the
Okay.
consistency statement from
All
the
right,
board.
so on the advice of the attorney, we would make that point of clarification.
Yeah,
that
I want
It
to,
was the consistency statement.
I want to make a point of clarification that my motion was the consistency statement
All right.
regarding
Okay.
the Broadway rezoning.
And that is now captured in the minutes. That's going to go on wherever, in perpetuity. All right, thank you, Mr. Attorney.
Thank you,
I'm
sir.
glad we got attorneys to keep us straight, Mr. Lackey.
We still got one in,
I do understand,
right.
yes, sir. So
Yep.
we had Mr. Tuttle here with us this
I
evening.
can advise you that with respect to the other rezoning matter, that was a fine statement of the,
Thank you. From now on, Shelley, you'll need to have those printed out for us.
yep,
No problem at all. I present the planning board's official consistency statement, but I can draft an alternative each time if you would like as well, just to have handy.
please
Yeah,
do.
Is that-
It would help us tremendously,
Okay.
evidently.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll try to draft an alternative if I can
All
come up
right.
with one. Thank you.
And you know,
Thank
we
you.
hate to turn down anybody, but
Yeah.
if it's not right, it's not right.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right, so we're going to move along now to item 7, which is items for decision and tax lien advertising. Mr. Monty Woods, our tax administrator, is going to come up and explain to us what he needs this evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Each year, in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 105-369, we're reporting the number of accounts and dollar amounts of unpaid taxes that are liens on real property for 2020 only. Our totals as revised today from your packet are 5,402 outstanding accounts and a dollar amount outstanding of $2,385,024.15. An alphabetical listing of these accounts are available in the county tax office. I come before our board tonight to report this information and ask for the authority to advertise the 2020 property tax liens.
All right. So hearing the request, what's the pleasure of the board in approving this request?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the request from the tax administrator.
All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Wilkie. Any other discussion or comment?
Monty, I would ask, is that historically what that is every year, or is that higher or lower?
Last year, it was 5,851. We were at $2.6 million last year, so now we're at under 2.4. We're doing very well in collections with the foreclosures, with the debt set-off program that we've really been pushing. We're doing very well in collections, even though during the pandemic.
Thank you,
very
sir.
well.
Thank you.
All right, and so the advertising, I just wanted to clarify, that would go into our local newspaper and?
Yes, the statute requires that we do this and give 30-day notice. This is what we're doing, but we will not advertise till probably May. We have to do it between March 1st and June 30th, but we usually give people plenty of time to pay before we actually put it in the paper.
Yes,
and
sir.
And we'll be sending out the second notices, I think this Friday. Some people may have forgotten or misplaced something, but they'll go out, and then we'll, like I said, it'll probably May, usually middle of May, we'll do it. Income tax refunds have come back, and people ask us, can you wait to advertise? And we do. You know, some people may advertise March 1st or as early as March 8th. We could with the 30-day notice given. That's what this is for.
Do we do that on any other media, like our website or anything?
We have, each year, we take a PDF of what's in the paper, and it should be, the 2019 should be on the PDF on the website right now, the tax website, where you pay, and where all the online listing forms are, where the foreclosures are located. And as another reference, the online listing is available for real property, the online appeals, and also we have online personal property listing and online business personal property. That was something we just added this year during the pandemic. We were planning on doing it with or without the pandemic. It's just technology's gotten better. And so with the pandemic, we pushed to get that put on our website so people do not have to come into the office to appeal or list their taxes.
Okay. All righty. So with Commissioner Wilkie's motion, I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that motion carries unanimously as well.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Monty. Sir. And that brings us to item 8, which is our consent agenda, and our county manager, Mr. Stan Kiser.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have for you on the consent agenda tonight, we ask for your approval of the minutes from the January 11th, 2021 meeting, your approval of fiscal year 2020-2021 audit contract with Martin Starnes and Associates. We ask for your approval of the sales tax reinvestment agreement. We ask for the approval of the local jobs incentive grant administration amendment and clawback delay. We ask for the approval of the 2021 Equalization and Review Board. We ask for your approval of the 2021 Needs-Based Public School Capital Fund Report. We ask for your approval of the Raceway Ordinance Amendment. We ask for your approval of the resolution granting exemption to negotiate and execute professional service contracts when fees are less than $50,000 for the Water Department. Your approval of the budget revision Health Department, allow expenditure of grant money to plan and conduct the COVID-19 mass vaccinations. That's $41,400. Your approval of the community health grant application request, and approve the budget revision animal control complete repairs necessary after the recent state inspection
of $20,000, which will come from the sales tax Article 40 line item.
All right, so hearing the recommendation of our manager this evening, any other question or comments? If not, do I hear a motion that we approve our consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept this evening's consent agenda as the county manager has presented.
All right, and with that motion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously as well. And that brings us to item 9, which is an appointment for the Blue Ridge Community Action. I think we'd received 2 applications, so does somebody have a nomination you'd like to make?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Jerry Ward.
All right, so Commissioner Branch would like to nominate Jerry Ward to fill this position on our Blue Ridge Community Action as a representative of Caldwell County. Any other comment or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that carries unanimously as well. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn so I could use the claw hammer one more time.
So moved.
So moved. Thank you again for being here this evening, and we appreciate all that you do for our county, and we hope that you have a great evening, and God bless you.